Peace and blessings and namaste. I want you to consider something. And this is just given to rattle a frame of thought. What if everything that you witness, that you take in, is an actual test to see what the mind would consciously identify with as truth versus non-truth? And what if this was done strategically all across the board so that the human psyche can be studied? Every single thought broadcasts throughout the universe. Depending on the level of thought, will dictate what frequency it's going to lie in. And not only that, but who else can pick up on that frequency. You see, not all are going to pick up on the same frequency. But it is not the will, per se, of others that are determining that. What does it mean to be chosen? If we can consider time as being a complete and total illusion in higher realms of consciousness, then the ones who are chosen actually chose themselves. And you may think, how does that make sense, Sophie? And I'm going to explain it. It's going to make sense because if time consists simultaneously, then one would already see the outcomes of the actions. Therefore, if there was a such thing as a huge judge picking out people that are going to be viewed as heroes or accomplish great things or become innovative and creative, then surely it would have been picked because the outcome was already known. And the consciousness that resides in the physical body is simply acting out what it is that they agreed to. I say to those of you who are struggling during this time and understanding of things or trying to comprehend or make sense even of the world around you, I say to you, if everything is a test and you have the ability to co-create because you can see the outcomes, even though you don't remember them, why would one consciously choose a harder path for themselves? That's a good one. Typically, we like things easy. Most of us do. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Why should everything in the universe be a struggle? Why should everything be a hardship? And in that vein of thought, guess what? There are those who are on the earth that actually live that. One may call them privileged, coddled, sheltered, spoiled, however you want to label it. It doesn't matter to me. But what does is there are others who may have chosen harder paths on a subconscious level. Subconscious on this realm, that is. Very much conscious on the higher realms. And they choose the harder path because they've seen the outcome of this path. They decide to walk it. But then we get here and we forget, memories get wiped. Everything is already foreknown. An agreement of the soul is made to go through this. Now, some would say it's a learning experience. Others would say it's simply done just to see and to make sure that the soul evolves correctly. And in what manner will it evolve? And what role would the soul that is evolved play in the next universe or the next scope of things or the next matrix? Who knows? The ideal is still all the same. We are the ultimate reflection of our own thoughts. How we view the world dictates our actions. And in most cases, how we also view ourselves. When I talk about mental alchemy, I'm talking about the ability to know that what I just said to you is true. But I'm not saying for you to know that what I said is true. I'm simply saying that I am believing what it is that I am saying. And because I am believing in what it is that I am saying, the mind starts to process information differently. It's like the 14 locusts. The conscious mind. The lower realms, the middle realms, the higher realms. Perspective. Everything is about it, right? So therefore, I would say, if the path that you are on proves to be too difficult for any of you, then it would be time to find a way to evolutionize the way that you're seeing things. The higher the consciousness, the higher the vibration, the more of the delusions chip away. And there are levels of delusion, which is not something that is being talked about because it's not something that is easily understood. And if it's not easily understood, it's even more difficult to explain. We're processing things on different dimensions, playing out in that way. If enough of the collective that has the ability to influence what one would consider the all mind start to believe that a certain thing exists and is truth, they start to create it together in uniform. Remember, that was talked about, interestingly enough, around the Tower of Babel. Remember, that was the complaint that God had. I would say more of a fear, that humanity would start unifying and figuring things out on their own. They weren't ready for that. Not at that time. It would have become threatening, you see. So they made their decisions, and it delayed the growth for, I guess, a few more eons, huh? So when I say that this realm is a training ground, it's a school for you, it's because it's teaching you how to create. And depending on your perspective, again, how you view things, the vibrational consciousness that you are in when you are viewing it, starts to influence your reality so that it starts to expand and influence other realities, and it become a broad reality. Surely that is something that you created for yourselves, that I created for myself, that we all create for ourselves. I say this to say this to you. I say all of that to say this to you. All polarities have a perspective. And typically, it is polar opposite of one another, strategically. If one is good, the other one's bad. If one is up, the other one's down. If one is light, the other one is dark. You're learning these perspectives. More importantly, you're learning the outcome of these perspectives. We all are. You can read this and believe in that wholeheartedly, and enough of you believe in it. There it is. And it can be a beautiful thing. Can. Or you can perceive the world in another way and bring that out and have enough that agree with you, and to that manifests as well. The Ascended Masters understood the principles of equilibrium, balancing out the equations and skipping those processes, because It was simply understood without having to be taught. But then they taught others as they had to go through the experience of what it is that they already knew but couldn't prove. That's what makes one wise. It's the experience. It's understanding the experiences. It's comprehending the choices. I never could understand being afraid of something I wrote or draw or made. I need for you to process that. I never understood the concept of being afraid of that which you have made. Well, at least you don't start off that way. Something can happen that could cause you to fear it. Circumstances. But initially, the only thing one can do with what it creates is love it. It admires it. Doesn't care if it's crappy. You still did your best to create it. You loved it. This is a universal principle. Throughout all of creation, your animals protect its young. Intelligence, colonies, and ants and hierarchies, the way that things are done. It's evident everywhere with cycles of death and rebirth. But the interesting part is, with each rebirth, it's shedding away an old skin. It should be. That's the natural principal course of evolution, is for that to occur. So when this happens, or when it should happen, you understand that energy just keeps going. There's nothing to fear. And you can't teach not to fear while simultaneously fearing. And everyone that is taking a firm stance in one way or the other is looking at the opposition as crazy. Interesting, right? Seeing it for what it is the key. Processing your journey and comprehension is the key. You're not a slave unless you created yourself a prison. And if that is the case, then we can't covet the ones who created themselves liberty. But let's just think if that is the case. Let's look at the principles, because there are still even principles within these principles. You'll soon identify with that in a second. To those who thrive and think that it makes sense to have structure or order in some kind of way, even to those who are boring enough to do routines, hey, life would not be where it was if we didn't even have those, right? Yeah, all needed. But to those who like that, and it gives them peace and it gives them balance, then to those who are operating more freely, let's say no law, no order, but just free. Just living as they please, just doing that way. Just having that way. A ball, you know? To those who like order, that is chaos. Okay? To those who like living free, law and order is tyranny. Pay attention. I'm helping you escape. The middle path will teach you that both are needed, and that one simply must discern what is beneficial and what is not. You have to reconcile the paradoxes. You do. And you have to look at the potential outcomes. You must always balance the equations. You can't do that by being spoon-fed an idea, a concept. But you can group yourself in a collective of that belief until it manifests. There was a creepypasta. They called him Slender Man. It was completely made up for what they were saying, but enough people started believing it and started becoming obsessive over it that some murders happened because of it, and people started now reporting that it is being seen. Do you understand what it is that I am trying to say? Love is creation. And love seeks to protect this creation. You seek to protect yourselves. It's natural. And if everybody understood that, if everybody understood that principle, we wouldn't be so hell-bent on trying to hurt others. It's not necessary. Revamp the mind. Focus on that which is good. Light slowly eats away at the darkness. And remember, the darkness is only existing in one's mind that manifested its reality. No one here, not even myself, can speak as if what they're saying is 100% truth and others is false. It is then better and saner to start imagining and creating what your ideal choice reality would be like. So, be the best versions of yourself and be respectful to others. Love oneself and love others. Care for the things that are given to you as if it was yours. Appreciate the moments that give you joy a lot more than the ones that have given you pain. Smile at the redundancy of life that one could have manifested for themselves because of their actions and learn from the action. And next time, things would be so smooth. You understood what you did. Especially when we do good. But we understand what we do also when we don't. Sometimes that comes with some hard lessons. That's something I could talk about. There's a lot of things that I've learned on this journey. Things that I thought that I already knew. But just learning to allow it to perfect itself in its understanding, it takes time. One could even say eons. Who knows? Only the soul understands the advancements of the soul. How quickly that should go. How quickly we learn and master things like our minds. That is all for now.